Welcome to another Miami Hurricanes podcast. I am your host, Brian Smith. I am the publisher at All Hurricanes on Fan Nation, and I am also the person that's going to be breaking down a little Hurricanes action with some changes based on what I see for this season, some intel for some places, just more research, and just some gut, if you will, about the Miami Hurricanes 2023 schedule. So let's get into it a little bit and have some fun. Number one, I've got Miami going 9-3. That's a little bit better than what most of the people, depending on which sports book you look at in Vegas, might talk about. However, that doesn't mean I know exactly which game or games they're going to win. I've got my schedule here. There's two games that are driving me nuts, and no, it's not the easiest ones. It's A&M and North Carolina. Carolina's got Drake May, who I love, but their defense is terrible. And Gene Chizk, why I have no idea, was not fired by Mac Brown. Well, that should make Miami fans happy. It just bothers me that somebody as good a coach as Mac Brown wouldn't make that change. But I am not in that process. So why do I have 9-3? Well, if you look at their schedule, Miami of Ohio is not beating Miami. And if they do, then this is not going to be a fun place to be afterwards when I do that podcast. A&M comes in. I don't trust, speaking of not trusting coaches, anything going on at A&M right now. Prove me wrong. They're going to be good defensively, but until otherwise, their offense is mediocre at best. And that's even with Evan Stewart, who is a dude at wide receiver. He is tremendous, but I just don't trust him. Bethune-Cookman at Temple, Georgia Tech at Hard Rock, at North Carolina, home to Clemson, Virginia, at NC State, at Florida State, home to Louisville, at BC. That last game there with Louisville is the other one that's kind of goofy for me. After playing NC State and Florida State on the road, the third game in that stretch is another football team that's a quality team. Maybe not as good as the others. Depends kind of how you want to look at it. I think Louisville could end up finishing ahead of NC State, even though I think NC State's a better team because Louisville's schedule's pretty weak. But I'm not going to get into that on this particular podcast. But it's about the accumulation of getting beat up late in the year, all the transfers Miami's had, the freshmen. If some of those guys really don't pan out, the end of the year, if Miami has some injuries, that could be a very dangerous game. And then, this is the other thing. The schedule gods did not smile upon the Canes at all by having BC last, Thanksgiving weekend up there. If it's snowing sideways, I don't like teams from down south. Look, it's just not normally going to go well. I know BC stinks. Most have them dead last or next to dead last in the ACC. I get it. I do. Miami's not going to play well on the road in the snow. If it is that way. I mean, it may be sunny and 55. Boston, that time of year, could be anything. If you're a Miami fan, you're obviously hoping for the warmer weather because there's no way to prepare for that. I grew up north. Either you lived in it or you didn't. So it's a different deal. The other thing about the schedule is it's so backloaded. Good quarterbacks. Brennan Armstrong's at NC State. Coach Day, who was at Virginia with him before he transferred, he went to Syracuse, and then Armstrong was terrible last year when he didn't have him. Now they're both reunited at a new school. It's kind of weird, but they're at NC State hoping to resurrect things. You got Drake May. Syracuse got a good quarterback. You have a situation at Louisville where they've got a really good quarterback coach. He'll figure something out. I have complete confidence in that. A&M can't be that bad at quarterback again. Can they? Yeah. Cade Klubnik, Clemson, very talented young man. I saw him at Elite 11 a couple of years ago. Really good player, but he's a sophomore. We'll see. Those are some of the main guys. The one advantage, and Miami didn't get many, with their schedule, you go through where they do not play Duke. And you think, oh, what's Riley Leonard tore Miami up last year and other teams? They're not on the schedule. So that's a bit of a help. Georgia Tech maybe gives them some problems, but they should if they lose to Georgia Tech, again, this will not be a friendly podcast after that game. If you like all smoke and death and negative, you'll come here. If you like happiness and roses, do not. I think that the schedule gives them a chance to go better than what Vegas thinks overall. 9-3. A couple other notes just on players. I know I've said this before. I think Miami's going to have over 30 rushing touchdowns this year. I think they're going to be one of the leaders in the country. I think they will be very physical inside the 10. Nothing against Tyler, but I just think it's going to be easier to run over some of these teams. Now, I know Clemson has a ton of seniors. North Carolina does. NC State does. But I don't think many of these teams have great up-front defenses until otherwise proven. Clemson kind of the best bet to do well. Florida State's got some talent. I'm not sure how much depth they have on the D-line, but they do have talent in their starting group. No question. We'll see. Virginia, BC, most of these teams, I think once Miami's inside the 15 can run it. Carolina can't stop anybody. They couldn't stop a cold. Georgia Tech, Temple, like these teams should all give up 3+ touchdowns on the ground to the Hurricanes. Expect some long runs from Henry Parrish, A.J. Allen, etc. A&M is kind of the exception. Their front is really nasty. Passing the ball, I've said this several times. I think Tyler will have about 25 touchdown passes because they're going to run the ball so well inside the red zone. But I think his numbers will improve, his efficiency, his game management, and just his skill in learning how to help the other players on the offense will be really up. Matt Lee, too. The center, it starts with that, making the protections. He protects Tyler Van Dyke. If he doesn't stay upright, they're not winning a lot of games. You got to have your quarterback healthy. And that's why I had Matt Lee on All Hurricanes as the number one player on Countdown to Canes. He's very intelligent. He's a proven player. Started 3 years at UCF before he transferred. And I think Matt's going to do an excellent job. I think he has a great chance to be All ACC. And he's a good dude, too. Final note. Player of the year, it could be Drake May, it could be Tyler, it could be Jordan Travis, etc., and all that stuff. But I've got, and this is just my one random pick here, looking at the games and the history of it, because I've started a Twitter handle, Canes and Knowles rivalry. It's at Canes and Knowles. That is going to be a very interesting game. And the history of this rivalry, when things start to change one way or the other, a team sometimes loses at home. I'm picking Miami to upset Florida State up in Doak. I could be dead wrong and they could lose by 20. I don't know, but that's my pick. I'm not saying Florida State won't win the league because I think they've got a great shot to do it, but that's the ACC. It's topsy-turvy many times. I think Miami could lose a couple of the games like Louisville or Georgia Tech or something like that. They're going to be up and down. I'm very concerned about Miami with turnovers and penalties in critical moments, not necessarily totals, but in moments, because they have 15 transfers and over 20 freshmen, a lot of which will play. That much newness can have just one guy out of position, and it creates a game-changing play for the other team. That's just football. You have to get through it. But they'll also be a very exciting team, especially offensively and with their pass rush. So, again, I've got Miami going 9-3. That's above what Vegas thinks. Take it or leave it, but that's where I'm at. So, please like this podcast as it shows down there below. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, share, and above all else, as I always say, comment. Where do you think Miami is going to finish? Do you think they're going to be 10-2, 6-6? Is something on your mind regarding the Florida State game? I'm going to write a book about the Miami-Florida State series. That's one of the reasons I started that Twitter handle. So at Canes and Knowles, make sure you check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun this season. It's just going to be a roller coaster, I think. So we'll see. But anyway, everybody have a great night. Take care, and I'll see you soon.